thoroughly enjoyed that conversation this morning, and I want to offer a few reflections, but I also want to encourage you to think about these two questions. The first one, what were you encouraged by? Where did you see hope? And the second question, what were you challenged by that you know you need to pay more attention to? So what were you encouraged by, and what did you feel challenged by that you know you want to pay more attention to? Let me start with what I was encouraged by. I thought each person presented us with a vision and of an imagined future. And that sounds like a God-given vision whenever we take people from one thing where they are to this imagination of God of a very, very different future. So Matthew spoke about the challenge of actually Trussell Trust wanting to get rid of itself. The imagined future for Trussell Trust is to not exist. And I love that. So the imagination to say, we know we're needed, but actually we wish to live in a world where food banks aren't needed. And we wish to do that by listening to people. Rinke talked about an imagined future where actually people's first-hand experience was valued, and that shaped government policy, that challenged structural injustice, that imagined future of people moving from a place where they're robbed of dignity, robbed of value, to a place where they find that sense of worth, where they find that voice. Actually, there was a challenge there, wasn't it? That no one is actually voiceless, that it's that people aren't listened to, people are not heard. That imagined future where people are listened to and heard. And then Al talked beautifully about that different way of being church. So I loved the challenge of a vision where instead of the church doing to, it is with and alongside, and actually acknowledges its dis-ease. So I really appreciated and was encouraged by the challenge not to think of environments as hostile, but Al invited us to think of the church as hostile. The church is a hostile environment for many, many people. I find that encouraging, even though I work for the church and get paid by them, because I want to know what is it that I do that I need to change. I don't just want to talk about how other people will change. I want to talk about what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my church? I want to encourage you to have a pause and a think, what encouraged you? What did you hear? I want to highlight two other things that I really heard. I heard orientations that contained the same words from all of our three panellists. And they were very much about listening, valuing, the opposite of marginalising, which is to elevate, amplify, value. We've heard lots and lots of orientations around people with first-hand experience being right at the centre, removing the powerful voices and enabling, just stepping back and letting people stay in the space. And I heard lots about stories, and I heard some challenge in that. I heard conversation around what are the stories we hear? What do we actually listen and pay attention to? What stories do we choose to ignore? There's a whole load of stories we choose to ignore. What stories do we select to retell of others and of ourselves? And some of that in the church, and I want to pull this back onto myself. The church tells stories that contribute to its persistent pathologizing, centers itself, acts like white, privileged, middle-class people, defends white middle-class lifestyle. I hear a lot, and Anthony Reddy was the first person I heard say it. God might have a preferential option to the poor, but the church broadcasts as if it has a preferential option to the middle class. And I want to be challenged by that.